releasing of Riley Patterson. A lot of scratching heads going around, but I got some data I want to read for you guys. And Muddy already mentioned it a little bit, but I'm not going to give him any credit because I was already prepared for this. I don't want him Muddy to think that I just took his comment. I mean, it helps support what we were reading here, but McManus had a pretty rough 2022 season. We look at his numbers. He finished at 29th, rated amongst all kickers with a 77.8% success rate, compared to Riley, who had a 85% success rate, finishing at 17. You're like, okay, well, that's half of what of what McManus did. So what's going on here? I mean, what are we doing? Well, the years prior to that, for the past 4 years, McManus kicked at 83%. Still behind what Riley did last year, right? But much better. What's being looked at, and when you actually take a deeper dive into this, is McManus attempted 13 field goals of 50 or more yards last year, 2 of them being over 60, which ranks second most in the NFL last year of kicking 50 yards. Comparison, Patterson only kicked 3 attempts from that range, and 2 of those were 60+. So the whole idea of this was we need a guy with a big leg. And obviously, the Broncos were constantly using McManus in big moments to kick the big leg. I think McManus has been around for a long time. The guy reminds me of kind of like a Tuskowski or Vinatieri. Like he's become one of those long-term names. And kickers, they're not living as long as they used to. The young guy seems to be taking those jobs. When you kind of get an old guy in there, especially with like who has that experience in kicking in big-time games for a very long time, that kind of was my thing. Is like, look, you're getting a guy that that's been doing this for a very long time. But the biggest factor is the big leg. They're going after a guy who can make these 50-yarders and 60-yarders. Obviously, his success rate wasn't the greatest, right? But obviously, they felt more comfortable in him kicking longer field goals than we probably did with Patterson when we probably would have punted it. I wish I could have had that number up. But how many times were we 50+ and we took a delay game and punted it versus if McManus is there, we go out, we send him out there. That could turn into 6, 9 more points a game if that were to happen. So a lot to look into. And again, I think it's a small move, but a move into saying, hey, we're here to win now, because you're going after a veteran presence. On just one more veteran presence in a very important role. The kicker is I think we can all understand how extremely important it is. To me, I always compare them to the closers in baseball. They don't do much, hang out 98% of the time. But when they're on the field, when they are playing, they have to be locked the fuck in. All eyes are on them, and if they make the smallest mistake, they are getting shredded. So nobody really gives them any crap, to be honest with you. Nobody is out there wishing they were the kicker or they were the closer. Maybe a closer, because closers are kind of cool and they've done a good job of like making, being a closer is cool. But like a kicker and a closer, your career can be over in a matter of 2 to 3 games. Literally. You go out and have 2 to 3 bad games in a row, you will never be heard of again. And it's rare that you get a second chance, because that next guy up is just as hungry and is just as cracked out as you were, but doesn't have the yips yet. Because it's very easy to fall into the yips when you're in a position like this, when the pressure gets there. So I'm excited. I think it's a great pickup.
Yeah, most definitely. And here's another thing is, kickers are it's a tough position, guys, because it's almost like a golfer, and golfers can lose their swing and look terrible. But as soon as they find it back again, they're right on the money, right? We've seen it. We've seen the very best do it. You know that they kind of have a down year and everybody counts them out, and next year they look great. And holders have a lot to do with that. There's a lot of dynamics when it comes to kicking. Obviously the mental game of it too. And I think it's a good pickup coming from the Vikings that have been plagued with kicking issues for years and years and years and years. That's where kickers go to die, really, it feels like. Um, it's one of those things where just because he had one down year, you got to look back at his track record. And if he's been good all these years and he can nuke the ball from 50 plus, just believe in it, because he might find a swing back, and it might be right when you need him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, like he's been good consistently. That's a big thing too. It's like it's not much of a drop off. If you look at last year's number, yes, but historically not so much.